All right. Okay, it feels a little bit strange, weird doing this. It feels a little vain in some ways, like, oh, everybody look at me, but whatever. Here we go. I am putting together this video to just do a quick little recap, update, 1 month post amputation. So I'd be lying if I said that the last month has been easy. I've learned so much. I've learned so much the last 5 weeks now. I've learned things that you can learn in no other way. No other way than when you have one less engine and you have to lean on the other side to compensate. You become resourceful. You see things with a different lens and you approach things differently. And that's the attitude I think I've approached really everything, especially since my life reset in 2013, is I see it all as a form of traveling. Like right now I'm traveling into the world of amputees. I'm traveling into the wheelchair world. I'm traveling into the forearm crutches world. I'm traveling into the one hop, don't fall world. And each of them have totally different aspects to them. And by viewing it as traveling, I think it enables, at least enables me to see things as raw and fresh and not take what I used to know from my previous world when all my limbs function properly and transferring that, because that's stupid. You know, that's a form of comparison, and in comparisons and happiness, they don't coexist. So absolving everything from the past and just seeing everything as a new world, a totally new world, and this is a new body, and I am on an exploration into territory that hasn't been mapped. You know, that's the way I see it. It's really helped me enjoy it too. Seeing things as a traveler, like I'm able to appreciate the novelty, the nuances. And I've had some highs, I've had some lows. I've taken 27 falls since the amputation. You know, I know the number with precision because I journal regularly every day, and that's one of the things I take note of. But I've also had 27 learning experiences. The falls, yeah, they were terrible. They sucked. You know, they were failures. Oh, I just said it, the F word, failure. But I learned from it. So can I fail and learn at the same time? Some would say, well, it's not a failure if you learn. Whatever. I don't like redefining language to suit our self-esteem. I don't like synthetically propping ourselves up by change. You know, I think it's okay to fail. I think it's okay to hit rock bottom. I think that's fine, because that's not what's most important. What's most important is what you do next. That's where character surfaces. So I've learned a lot. I've had a couple failures that I've learned a significant amount from. I had one. I'll only tell you about one fall. It was the most challenging fall, both physically and mentally. It happened out in public, and I was walking from the bank to this really sweet coffee shop in downtown Vancouver. And I was going through the parking lot, and the asphalt was really textured. I felt really secure on my forearm crutches. You know, I didn't think anything could go wrong. It felt solid. But you know that lead paint that they paint street markings with? Well, they paint these arrows like into the drive-through ATM arrows. Had no idea. But I put my forearm crutch on that arrow, and right out from under me. And I hit with some velocity. I smacked my chin, cut it up, and fell into a puddle. And then I took a deep breath. And that's what I do after every fall, because I think it's important to recalibrate, reset, so that the response isn't so much an emotional response. So I take a deep breath, and then I decide what's most important, and that is, what am I going to do now? I look around, what are my resources? Are there any people? Nope, no people in this particular case. But no, there was no one that could really lend me a hand, and there was no object I could leverage off of to push myself up. So I had to crawl like through this, this rainy, just fast forward, I crawled 20 to 30 feet to the point where I could get to the wall of the bank, where I could grab the curb to get some leverage, to get up a little bit, and then grab the wall to push up off of. It's kind of a complex process, but after you've done it a dozen times, you can make it look, I think you make it look kind of smooth. At least I feel that way. So I got up, boom, dust myself off, learned a lot, okay, forearm crutches on lead paint, not so much a good idea. Yeah. So I made my way to the coffee shop, and I had one of the most incredible experiences of my entire life there. I was writing all these letters to these different entities that were involved with my power line debacle. I was writing Idaho Power, and they're billing me $8,000 for getting stuck in their lines. And I'm just, it was pretty exhausting writing all these letters. I wrote 9 different letters, kind of presenting this sob story. This is my situation. I don't have lucrative sources of income. Please consider waiving the late fees. And while I'm going through writing all these letters, I recall looking down toward my left foot and seeing 2 more pairs of feet just standing right there, like 2 feet from me. And it was really clear that they wanted to interact, but just didn't really know how to initiate it. And I looked up, and I think the best way to initiate an interaction is with a smile. That's like waving the white flag, like, hey, you're safe here. So I looked up, and I just kind of smiled, and this gentleman said that his daughter watched me getting around the coffee shop and took an interest in my mobility and wanted to hear more of my story. And he explained that his daughter had this condition she was born with. I don't recall what it was called. I don't know that it matters, but she has this condition where the 2 different hemispheres of her brain are like cross-wired, so it takes her like an hour to walk a block, because she has to be so mindful of every step or else she'll fall. But for her to decide to take however many steps to come talk to me was really, really, it's kind of powerful. And she didn't say a word to me the whole time, but that doesn't mean she didn't communicate. She shared her thoughts with her eyes, and I started just sharing about the different challenges I've experienced. And I remember whenever I would say something that interests his daughter, her eyes would get big, and that was her way of encouraging me to elaborate further. And when she would smile, that was her way of showing some form of delight. And it was just to communicate with someone that without words, through her father. And it was for her to tug on her dad and insist that they go talk to this stranger they've never met, who's busy writing all these letters. When any of us think that we have it bad, there's always someone that has it worse. And I don't subscribe to getting into that comparison way of things. But in this situation, it came to the forefront. This girl had the hardest time walking. She had the hardest time communicating. But she wasn't about to give up. This is the hand I'm dealt. This is what I'll deal with it. And I think that's what's important, is deciding what we're going to do about it. Not what's happened, why it's happened, but what we're going to do. So now, on to what I'm going to do, what's next in the wheelhouse of work with the prosthetics department at the Seattle Veterans Hospital. And I cannot wait for that. It'll all be so worth it. Just take it to the next level. Just for one, have 2 free hands to walk around and carry stuff. That'll be a first big success, and we'll make mountains and above tree line summits secondary. But that's coming too, no doubt about that. So I'm really excited about what's next, and I really appreciate the sincere comments and the sincere following that I've been so fortunate to have throughout this whole process. It's allowed me to feel like I'm never alone. And I know I have people that find some value in my challenging situations. And it really makes me happy to know that I'm persevering, I'm getting through this difficult, challenging day, not just for me, but because, you know what? Turns out it inspires a few other people. And if I can do anything to make anyone else's day better, sign me up.